Isadora Vale was the kind of woman who walked into a room and made silence feel like music. Her voice was low, like velvet soaked in whiskey, and her eyes carried the weight of 1,000 poems. A jazz singer in the dusky lounges of Montreux, she sang of heartbreaks she hadn't yet lived until she met him. Julian Hart, a photographer with a crooked smile and a past he never spoke of. He wore charm like a tailored suit, and Isadora, for all her strength, mistook mystery for depth. They met in a red-lit bar where the piano hummed like a heartbeat. Julian was leaning against the wall, camera slung over his shoulder, watching her sing "Love is a Losing Game." After the show, he approached her with a compliment that felt rehearsed, but his eyes held something raw.
I want to photograph you, not for a magazine, for memory.
He said. Isadora laughed, but something in her chest fluttered. She let him into her world slowly. Her apartment filled with vinyl records, her stories of growing up with a mother who taught her that love should never cost your soul. Julian listened. He kissed her like he was trying to forget something. And Isadora, against her better judgment, began to believe that maybe this time love wouldn't hurt. For months, they were inseparable. He captured her in black and white, her laughter, her tears, her silence. But slowly, the colors began to drain from their love. Julian started disappearing for days. His phone would ring late at night, and he'd step outside with vague excuses. Isadora's songs grew darker. She sang with a tremble in her voice, as if each note was a question he refused to answer. One evening, she followed him. Not out of jealousy, she followed him. Not out of jealousy, but out of desperation to understand. She found him in a cafe, holding hands with a woman whose smile mirrored the one he used to give her. They kissed, and Isadora stood outside, watching the man she gave her heart to give it to someone else like it was nothing. Isadora didn't confront him. She returned home, poured herself a glass of wine, and played Back to Black on repeat. Her voice cracked as she sang along, not on stage, but alone in her kitchen. "I go back to us. I go back to black," she cried. Not because he cheated, but because she had betrayed herself, believing that love could fix a man who didn't want to be whole. Julian came back days later, smelling of perfume that wasn't hers. He tried to explain, but Isadora didn't need words. She handed him a box of photographs he took of her and said, "Keep the memories. I'm keeping myself." Months passed. Isadora stopped singing in bars. She wrote her own music, songs that didn't beg for love, but bled strength. Her voice changed. It was deeper, richer, like someone who had walked through fire and found her own light. One night, she returned to the red-lit bar. Alone, she sang a new song called Velvet Requiem. The crowd was silent. Julian was there, in the back, camera lowered, eyes wet. She didn't look at him. She didn't need to. Because this time, the story wasn't about him. It was about her. Isadora Vale never stopped loving, but she learned that love should never be a cage. She wore black not as mourning, but as armor. Her songs became anthems for women who had loved too deeply and lost themselves. And somewhere in the quiet corners of Montreux, her voice still echoes. Not broken, just beautifully rebuilt.